guys, I am so excited to be unveiling my very own podcast, The Paperfold. If you are listening to this, you most likely know me, Sarah Schwartz, from the quarterly trade publication Stationary Trends. I'm the editor-in-chief there, and I also have a blog previously known as The Paper Chronicles, presently known as The Paper Nerd. I'm so excited about this podcast because there's never been a spring in the 20 plus years I've been in the stationery industry that we have felt more isolated than now. So I wanted to not just bring my voice into the silence, but those of other industry players as well. I'm thinking of the Paperfold as my salon where I can talk shop, and I invite everyone else to join in the conversation. Before I go any further, I need to talk about my logos, both of them. I am absolutely enamored with them, and I must give all due credit to one Stephanie Clark of Dahlia Press. She also creates logos for businesses in addition to her stationery and invitation work, and she is beyond brilliant. I approached her about this project some time back. Both of us got distracted by a bunch of other stuff. But then during the quarantine, she sent me some logos. And once I was able to visualize everything, it just re-energized me to get off my butt. And here we are. And of course, there's also the fact that so many of the businesses I've covered for the past 20 plus years have been struggling so much. I want to help and I need to help. So the idea for this first episode came together actually several weeks back while I was putting the finishing touches on the spring issue of Stationary Trends. As we were closing, something came up and I had to reach out to Ryan Kissick at Good Juju Inc. That is a San Francisco range of letterpress cards and writing papers. They had just launched an extensive and gorgeous desk collection at National Stationery Show in February. And like many paper lines, it's a married couple. Ryan is head of operations, and his wife, Juliana, aka Juju, is CEO and illustrator extraordinaire. They are this adorable San Francisco couple. They even have an even more adorable little baby girl, Josephine, who just turned 1. If you have not seen their range, go to goodjujuinc.com this minute and check it out. It's the bomb. I dare you to find something you can't live another minute without. So this was on March 26th, and Ryan emailed me back within the hour answering my query and then directing me to this amazing Google document he put together and then shared with all his customers and contacts the previous week on March 18th. This document, the document, as I have come to call it, has been viewed hundreds and hundreds of times since then, all around the world. And if you open it up, you see the initials up top of all the other people looking at it right now. The link is in my liner notes, and the document is full of resources for small business owners, everything from financial aid, employment law, legal aid, to the CARES Act. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk to them about. And then, if that was not enough to get accomplished, also while all this corona craziness was going on, Juliana helped launch 18 Million Thanks. This is a grassroots coalition of 13 women-owned stationery companies created to send that amount of thank you cards to healthcare workers across the country, because that's how many healthcare workers there are. There are a million ways to get involved, and I sincerely hope you do so. So I have 1,000,001 questions for them, as you can imagine, which I will get to after this brief message.
Hey, paper peeps. So by now, many of my listeners are familiar with the force of stationary nature, better known as Girl with Knife. But if you aren't, time to change all that. From the first moment I spied her booth at her New York Now trade show debut in 2019, I was smitten with this cutting edge range that the world was calling out for. We all just didn't know it yet. Everything is nimbly collaged to life, slice by careful slice by the talented and exquisite Alicia Castaldi. This stylish collection of cards, journals, and notepads that have sprung to life under this fashionista's exacting knife is sharp, snarky, sleek, and occasionally very sweet, just like that BFF who would love to hear from you right now. For that reason, whenever I get my hands on Girl with Knife merchandise, I hoard it and use it most sparingly. Alicia recently launched Gift Wrap, and if you're already a fan of her range, you're familiar with her patterns and quality, but these super thick sheets elevate any gift from off the rack to atelier. Her recent releases of Midnight Botanical, Rare Creatures, and Chasing Dreams bring the total styles that slay up to 10. And if you're like me and that you fall in love with a range and want to reside in that world, you're in luck. Alicia recently unveiled Knife House, which was one of the few good things I can think of that came out of 2020. That was when Alicia shifted her operation from LA to this newly renovated concept home in Palm Springs. This completely private, walled and gated estate features panoramic mountain views and countless luxe surprises. Take a tour through its magnificent blush pink doors at www.knifehousepalmsprings.com or find it on Instagram at Knife House Palm Springs. Good luck getting your jaw off the floor as you take in this perfect California adult playground. These glamorous digs are available for photo shoots, film projects, special events, and short-term rentals. But just as importantly, all that exquisite Palm Springs flora and fauna have inspired Alicia's soon-to-be-released journal and notepads. She tells me that they're also expanding into home decor, which I, for one, absolutely can't wait to see. So now that you've glimpsed this wonderful world, you need this cutting-edge lifestyle brand in your life. Find Girl with Knife in hundreds of shops across the U.S. and over half a dozen countries. Alicia and Girl with Knife have also been featured in New York Magazine, LA Business Journal, BuzzFeed, and of course, Stationary Trends. I've run her work there countless times. Alicia was one of our 10 designers to watch in 2020 and proceeded to live up to that designation when last May, 2 out of her 3 nominated cards took CHAP honors at the Noted and Noted virtual greeting card competition. Then, for our winter 2021 issue of Stationary Trends, Alicia designed the 10 designers to watch frontispiece for us. It is something else if you haven't seen it yet. Also, as of 2021, Alicia is represented by none other than the Daniel Richards showrooms in Atlanta and Dallas. Dan's eye is renowned in this biz, so his representing Girl with Knife is unsurprising, but it also means that this brand needs to be on your design radar stat. Check out this beguiling range at the recently refreshed girlwithknife.com. Right now, the theme is Season of Fierce, and I think we can all use one of those about now. I guarantee your stationery will slay.
All right, and we're back. And with me is Ryan and Juju. Thank you guys so much, and welcome to the Paper Fold.
Woohoo! Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for being here. So the first question that I have to ask is, like, how long have you two guys known each other, and how long have you been boyfriend, girlfriend?
Depends. You might get a different answer depending on who goes first.
Well, he said I love you first, so we could talk about that, or I could. No, we have a super annoyingly cute, neat story where, if this wasn't my life, I probably would not believe that this happened in reality. But when Ryan was 2 and I was 1, our parents moved onto the same block. Literally across the street from each other. Like my bedroom window sees into his bedroom window. Yeah. And it just is so ridiculous. I mean, so, okay, there's that. And then on top of that, we both had, both Ryan and I, both our parents worked, and Ryan had a lovely nanny. My family had a lovely nanny that worked for us while my parents were working. And those nannies became friends, and
here's the thing. We thought that we were orchestrating the play dates. We know now that they were with each other, and we just have to be with each other.
Yeah. But I will tell you the sweetest thing. So when it came out that we were actually dating each other in our early 20s, and I will get to that in a second. But when his family found out that we were dating, apparently his childhood nanny wrote Ryan an email and said, "Oh my goodness, your mom told me that you're dating Juliana Tyson from across the street, and I just have to tell you that you were such a picky little boy and did not want to hang out with very many people, but one of the people you always requested to have play dates with was Juliana." Oh, like, are you kidding me?
We have the good news is we have the proof for all of this. There are Polaroid pictures of us as toddlers at Gymboree, at play dates.
Play dates, yeah, like all of the things.
It's unbelievable.
Totally.
We still have those Polaroids. We've obviously digitized those as well so that we can keep them forever and on all devices. But so it goes way back.
It's just very real. It's just, and not to say that we don't, fight like cats and dogs, but we friggin'.
You might even get one on this.
You might even get one on this.
Like, that's part of the fun of being married. That's just part of the joy, right?
Sure.
All right, so I gotta get to this incredible document. First of all, I've just been calling it the document. Does it have a name?
So good.
What do you call it?
Oh my God, Brian calls it his first week of quarantine. That's it. Like, he was
I don't have a name for it.
Like,
honestly, I'm going to call it the document too, because I don't know what to call it. I never had a name for it. I felt like the urgency to just create something was more than branding it. So
seriously, people like that whole first week of shelter in place, at least for us here in California, it was. I feel like the whole world is kind of emotionally grappling with things. We're reading articles. Do you like how I'm talking for him? It's terrible. It's going to happen, and I'm going to stop. I'm going to.
Awesome. Sarah, thank you so much for asking me that pointed
question. You're welcome.
So the doc. Really, it happened so fast. So I looked back and did a little research before this call because it feels like ancient history, but it was only about a month and a half ago. It's March 17th.
Yeah.
Which again, I think that must have been in 2002. It was not, but I feel like the reason for it, or I mean, do you want me to go into the history, Sarah? What would be helpful for you?
Sure. I'm just kind of curious, I don't know what brought it to life. Like, what made you say, I am going to create this document that's going to have every resource I can possibly think of, and then I'm going to share it with everyone I can possibly think of. I mean, it was such a brilliant idea. You were the only one that I know of who did it. So I'm just wondering kind of what went into it.
Can I just say, I swear to God, I'm going to let him answer this question. He's not going to say this about himself. Ryan has the biggest heart of any human being I've ever met on this freaking planet, and he could not sleep that whole first night, that whole first week of quarantine, because he was like, people are just, they're not going to know this is out there. I mean, he's like, I'm one of those crazy people that likes to dig through and find out all these things, but people don't have time to do that, and people are parents and people are business owners. He couldn't not do it. Okay, now you go, dear.
Now you may answer.
Well, I probably was that frazzled. Hopefully I don't come across as that frazzled when I'm recalling this to you, but I think that first week I was. I just felt like in some ways, Sarah, our business, I felt like was a kind of the proverbial canary in the coal mine. Mm-hmm. Our business was mostly wholesale, and literally overnight we went to tens of thousands of dollars per week in revenue to zero.
Right.
And I just was reading a lot about the virus, and I was like, this is not a normal recession. This is not a normal slowdown. This is going to be unprecedented for an uncertain amount of time.
Oh my God. Also, sorry, Ryan was a human biology major at Stanford, which he rarely talks about. And I swear to God, that also came into play. Okay.
Continue.
Thank you. I appreciate these prompts. It's like a PowerPoint for podcasts.
Please, you were saying.
So as I was saying, I started probably March 14th, just a couple days before I posted the document, just started doing research because I knew that this was unprecedented to have a period of time where sales literally go to zero. And I knew this was going to be the case for businesses across the U.S., across the world, really. Uh-huh. But I thought first and foremost, it was for Good Juju Inc. I did think, how are we going to weather this time period where we may not have sales and we don't know how long it's going to last. And so I just started doing research, and frankly, searching for good information, specifically information about financial aid and employment law, felt really daunting, especially in those early days, because it was happening so fast. At least it felt like it was happening fast here in the US, and here in the Bay Area. We went on shelter in place on March 16th, and I knew that, wow, I was going to need to get some of this information. And again, I went to Google, and it just felt incredibly scary as a small business owner to figure out, what am I supposed to do? What resources are available? What government loans are available? There was no information at that time. And so I just started doing research, going through a bunch of articles and trying to kind of jot down the ones that I thought were the most clear.
Sure.
Because in my shoes, I was like, I'm reading dozens of articles. It's just so scary. It's overwhelming. And I realized if I'm going through this, everybody else is probably going through the same thing. So why don't I just take the effort that I'm doing? And it's going to be no big deal to just put those same links that I'm already creating for myself in a document and share that. Because, instead of having people start from scratch in Google like I did, I figured they can at least start from some vetted resources and not feel completely overwhelmed, knowing that they were all going to be going through this.
Right.
And so that's what on the 17th, I looked back right before we jumped on this call, and I posted on Facebook I think the document at that point had, a handful of links about financial aid and employment law, and maybe some ways that consumers could help small businesses. And I said, feel free to share or send me information, and it went from there.
Can you share any anecdotes about like what kind of feedback you've gotten from the hundreds of people that have used it?
Absolutely. I think I would say overwhelmingly the amount of emails I received from people saying, thank you so much. This is incredibly helpful. We actually sent a wholesale newsletter out to our community, and it by far had the highest open rate, the highest click rate, the highest email response rate by far of anything that we've ever sent out. And it was immediate. People were just really grateful to have any resources at their disposal.
It also went like viral in Texas. It like
someone found on YouTube or posted on YouTube and made a really nice YouTube video that I've seen hundreds of times. People were sharing it on LinkedIn. People I didn't know about. People were emailing me.
The restaurant community in San Francisco, which is like a very small niche community, but like a very important community, specifically the Bay Area. The food scene here is very important, and it is a lot of small. These aren't chains. These are small, bit high end restaurants, and it was. We got feedback that it was being shared throughout the restaurant community. Newsletters there. The San Francisco food community. I mean, all the industries we just didn't anticipate it, permeating. It did, and was continued to be circulated. And
I think even beyond that, it was really heartwarming to see friends of mine who own small businesses or advise small businesses immediately jump in and say, "How can I help?" And that was really great for me, because I actually just opened a document for the first time in a couple of weeks, and there are sections on there with immigration law and real estate and other things that I don't know anything about. But it was great to see friends who do have expertise in those areas say, I would love to contribute. Can I add some information here? And I said, absolutely. My intent was just at a time when there was no information to give people something to get the ball rolling.
Sure.
To see people so excited to jump in and support the community, it felt nice, especially in a time where we were physically not able to be together in community. It felt nice to have a community online.
Oh, sure. I mean, there's something about, I remember when you sent me the first link, there's something about opening it. There's something very reassuring about it. Like, okay, everything is laid out and there's a lot of, avenues I can go on, and suddenly I don't feel so lost.
Yes. Oh, yes. Sarah, I have to say that actually your wording there, not feeling so lost. I think that, when Ryan just said a couple seconds ago, said, there wasn't a lot of information. I think it's actually the opposite there, that we're in a time of distrusting media or distrusting our politicians or how we are receiving information. And it is so assuring or reassuring that that there are these aggregators out there that you can trust, where things are laid out and they are clear and they're not in legalese and you can understand what's happening. I think we're really yearning for these trustworthy aggregators of information.
Yeah, that's a great point. What I would say is, I mentioned at the beginning there was no information.
Oh yes,
that quickly changed, because when I first started, there was nothing.
Right.
And then it quickly went to there is everything.
Overload.
But I don't think is reasonable. And so that was kind of a nice transition to say, first, let me just get anything out there for you that's from a trustworthy source. And then, oh my God, that there's 18 million articles on how to interpret the CARES Act. I don't know where to even start. So, it was nice that I had read through many of them, and so did friends. And it was like, here are 3 that you should read.
Yeah.
Don't read the 18 million, read the 3.
Right. I mean, part of the problem with the news cycle and the 24-hour news cycle is that things happen so quickly. And especially in the early weeks of quarantine, where you just, you were just feeling permanently discombobulated. And so it was just very grounding. And, I mean, obviously people are going to do with the information what they choose to do, but it's just such a great starting point. And I have to say, my husband's in the closeout business. I showed him the document, like he was like going through my office for something. And I was like, hey, look at this. And he took a glance and then he left the room, and then he came back 20 seconds later and was like, let me look at that. Like, so.
Oh my God, that's amazing. That's awesome.
So, it helps any business. And I mean, it's just incredible. And so obviously it's still there. I'm sharing it in the liner notes. You're adding to it from time to time, Ryan?
To tell you the truth, I haven't. And the reason was I feel like we stopped updating it probably about mid to late April. Mm-hmm. And I personally, there were a couple things. One was honestly our own bandwidth. We just are so swamped with any number of things that it just was getting harder and harder to update it on a regular basis. And at the same time, I felt like it had served its purpose in many ways. Like, it got through that initial phase where it was, at least in my opinion, it felt so chaotic. And I felt like we got the document to a state where at least, the CARES Act had been more formulated and there was more real, like, good information about that. And I felt as though we had the resources there to get people down the right path. Meaning, I felt like in terms of financial aid resources and other resources, it didn't feel like the pace of change was so fast to where we needed to update it as regularly. And I still think that there's useful information there to at least get people going without having to update it. I mean, I felt like when we were updating it, it was like, oh, actually, if you want to apply for PPP, this is what you do. Actually, this is how you apply for EIDL. Actually, and it was hard to keep up. And at this stage, I feel like there's better information out there, and it's not changing every 4 seconds.
Right. Although who knows? Now they're talking about another round of benefits, so there might be more to report. But
it's true. I might go back to the document, as we call it.
The document. But then again, I can completely see how it turns into probably a full-time job when you already have several.
Yes.
So, okay, well, let's take a quick break. And then when we come back, I want to talk to you guys all about 18 million thanks.
Yay!
Wonderful.
Yay! All right, and we're back. I'm still here with Ryan and Juju, and I want to talk to you guys. I think Ryan's there.
Yeah.
I never know if I'm here, and oftentimes I'll ask my wife for permission to be here.
Smart man. So I want to hear all about 18 million thanks. Yet another project started during quarantine. How did this come about? Like, tell me, what was the inspiration and how did you get everyone involved? Take it away.
Well, you can clearly, there might be a pattern emerging that, at least on my side of things, maybe much to my wife's chagrin, I turn my anxiety into action, whether or not it's warranted.
Really fast. Like from the moment something is announced, he's like, we're going to be doing X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I'm like, wait a minute, I need a coffee, I need a croissant, I need a moment to process this.
So with 18 million thanks, I think it was yet another way to say, look, we want to help out. We're sheltering in place. We can't make masks. We can't make ventilators. What is it that we can do?
What can we offer? What as human beings and creatures of industry, we especially because, Ryan and I were actually initially hoping that the document would be sort of this platform upon which we could really galvanize for small businesses. But honestly, all the different ways that we were brainstorming just weren't feasible. And so we allowed the document to just exist as the document and be utilized however people wanted to utilize it as like a free source. Mm-hmm. And then 18 million thanks was really born out of this unmet desire to utilize not just our skill set, but also like our raw materials that we have available to us during quarantine to perpetuate goodness into the cycle of things and infuse goodness into the cycle of things. And my God, honestly, Ryan and I would be up just like looking at our fellow makers' cards, how clever card makers are. And in such an immediate, like, the moment something happens in news, there's a card maker who's made a genius card about that thing. And we were just we were just saying to each other, look at all of this creativity that has come about because of all of this and the positive spin that our industry is spinning this. Right, I mean, right. And not spinning it to distract, but really acknowledging the pain and also acknowledging all the quirks about how we're, thusly responding to shelter in place and getting fat and, just like all the things, all of the feels. And Ryan was like, well, let's like make this something that people can really easily utilize as a means of social content, of content. And then just literally, if they have a piece of paper, computer paper, and a crayon available to them, all they need is to get a stamp and they can, send something to a hospital that is this will actually, again, be a point of happiness. But we did, and I'll let Ryan, I swear I'll let Ryan talk. I swear to God. We had some really good feedback early on in this brainstorming, which was when we were calling hospitals, when we were trying to get people to partner with us. We were calling some of the bigger hospitals on the East Coast, specifically New York, and they were like, please do not send us mail right now. We cannot handle it given everything we're doing. That was opening for us, like, hey, we need to make sure that these hospitals even want this kind of mail. Right. They can even receive it and that they can commit to distributing these letters to their staff as opposed to just letting them sit forever in a mail bin in some closet. So that was sort of an added bonus to this, which was like, oh, not only will we be able to ensure that certain hospitals really do want this and are capable of receiving it, but we get to list those addresses on the website and make it that much easier for people to be like, oh, like today I'm going to send these 4 postcards or these 4 thank you notes to these hospitals because the address, it's so easy. The addresses are right here. Boom, boom, boom.
Right.
Yeah, I think just to add on to that, Sarah, I think early on in this crisis, I've learned through kind of outreach to other companies, to people, there's a lot of folks that want to help in some capacity, but they don't know how. And the other thing that I learned is that people are so strapped right now. I mean, with schools being closed, with kids in the house, with so much going on in terms of trying to sort out your finances, be safe, figure out how to navigate life in this crazy time we're in. People don't have much time, but they do want to help. And I think that helped kind of crystallize what we were trying to do, which was create something that really anyone could participate in, making it super easy, but something that would have an impact and was specifically for our industry. Because again, I felt that community for our industry would be a nice thing to kind of galvanize us around a common goal and a common cause. And so that's where it started, and it's really grown from there.
No, I mean, look, it's amazing, and it's an action that anybody can take and feel good, and one of my favorite aspects of it is that it also supports the post office, which
yes, exactly.
So, all right, so did you just reach out to various companies whose product you were liking, or they were just, how did your coalition form?
Oh my God, I have to sneeze. Nope, it's coming.
Well done.
Well done.
We just started reaching out to folks that we'd met through being in the industry, whether it was at trade shows. I mean, I feel like it's such a wonderful industry with really positive, thoughtful, incredible business owners, and we just started to reach out.
Well, we kind of started to reach out to people who we saw through social media, and just in whatever Facebook, all the social channels, that they had already been creating cards for either healthcare workers or like with specific reference to the pandemic. And I was like, oh my God, like if these makers are already making cards for this purpose, let's again aggregate, let's galvanize all of this, let's curate and create something that they really don't need to do anything except for agree to post about this, and basically that's it.
Well, I mean, what's so wonderful, what I believed is that we wanted to use our collective voices to amplify this message and amplify the cause. And I don't think any of our individual companies could do this on our own, because we're small businesses. We don't have the reach. But together it was exciting because we all have our own communities. And what's especially great is these are, our customers, our followers, our letter writers. They crave this.
They're already not just get it, right?
Exactly. They already get it. You don't need to get over any hurdle. And so I thought, gosh, if we have that audience that wants to help and is already used to this form of communicating, let's all start getting the message out there. And so, you're not convincing someone about writing a letter. Bless some of my friends. I have some friends who are more digital than writing a letter, and they were like, well, can I just tweet it, or can we make it super simple in a type form? And I was like, no. I was like, there are ways to do that. In fact, there are a lot of hospitals who have set that up, and I don't want to discourage any sort of things. Really, all thanks are wonderful, but this to me was specific to something that in my, obviously if our industry didn't believe this, I'm not sure you should be in this industry, but it's so meaningful to get that handwritten letter.
I have to tell you, Sarah, we had this incredible web development team, female, immigrant owned, coders, programmers, developers. I mean, you're probably using all the wrong terminology. I live in Silicon Valley, and I don't even
also give their name.
They're called their company's called Wonder Dogs, WU, like Wunder Dog.
Wunder Dog.
Wunder. And so they are, oh my God, they're so amazing. And actually, it was so funny when we were first pitching them this idea to come up with this website and do the branding for it. They were very like, you guys, we should not be forcing people to like buy stamps and like there are a lot of hurdles here. I'm like, oh guys, I was like, please, this is our community. Our community already owns stamps. Like we're plugging into a world that I think some people just don't believe exists anymore, but it very much exists. And it's actually, it's a quite passionate community of letter writers. So, and it was really wonderful to see our web developers, who I thought did a spectacular job and in such a short amount of time.
The site is amazing. And when you get to the part where you see all the brands, it's like, oh my goodness. I mean, as a paper person, it's like, oh, you got them. Oh, you got Dolly. Oh, you got iLoot. Oh, you got Paper Epiphanies. Oh, and you got E. Francis. It's like, oh, all my favorite companies.
All my heroes. Like how creepy is this? That what I'm about to say. There's like the secretest, creepiest way for me to just reach out to all my like female crush, like business crushes.
Sarah's secret. She had me do the reaching out.
It was so secret you didn't do it.
So secret. But yeah, no, and then to see the developers, they told us in a round of feedback, like just about notes on the website, they said, oh, by the way, we also are putting together our own list of we are writing our own cards this weekend, and we're so excited to do it. And it was really cool to see, sort of the coming around of, wait, this is going to pose a lot of hurdles for your average user to, no, this is like we're honing in on a community of people that already write letters, that already know the power of a handwritten note, and for them to really just accept that. So with open arms, and they themselves write the thank you notes as well. By the way, I don't even know if we mentioned it's 18 million thanks, because there are 18 million registered healthcare workers in the U.S. Yeah.
I think I said that in my
and we
intro.
wanted to send.
I think
amazeballs. Okay.
But I'll make sure I say it, and if not, I'll go back and re-record it. But no, it's amazing. And the thing is that I really think, and obviously I'm the world's biggest fan of letter writing and sending cards, but I really think during these times, like your mailman showing up is a whole different occasion than it was a few months ago. And people are really starting to like reaching out. They're starting to like to receive mail a lot more. And it's like I hope we're getting a new audience, a captive audience, as it were, but
yes,
I'll take it.
Yeah.
So, okay. And so I'm wondering, how can other makers get involved if they want to throw their hat into the ring? Can they reach out to you? What would you prefer?
Absolutely. So this is open to all types of stationery companies, whether they're retailers or makers. We've opened this up, and what I'll say, Sarah, is there's quote official participation, and then there's all sorts of other ways that companies can participate and help us spread the message. Ultimately, this is about sending letters to healthcare workers who are going through things I can't even fathom, and I know they really do appreciate the support. But yes is the answer, and what I would say is official participation we're making very easy. It's that companies commit to post about the campaign twice per week, whether that's a dedicated post, a story, reposting something that's been shared, but spreading the message about 18 million thanks. And if they go to 18millionthanks.com, any stationery company can hopefully pretty quickly find the email for the campaign and send us an email, or there's a form that they can fill out. It takes 1 or 2 minutes where they can say that they're interested, and we'll get back to them with more information. Okay. What would you add, Juju?
Yeah, we say, official participation. Yeah, it's if you are a company that sells cards and you would like to literally be listed on our website, great. Like email us on that via the email address on the website, which is just info, right? Info at 18millionthanks.com.
Okay.
Or fill out the form, and we can send we send a file of visuals, digital high res visuals that people can feel free to post on their social. And also we've written copy just so that people can post as well, just so that like basically people don't even have to think too hard. Like truly, we wanted to streamline the communications so that, you're recognizing this message as you see it being posted from various people. But people have taken their own little spin on it. So it's in their own words. And that's awesome if you have time to do that. If you don't have time to do that, we were just like, hey, here's this copy. You don't have to think twice. It's a very non-polarizing copy. It's basically like sending thank you cards is super, super dope. Our healthcare workers are like legit superheroes, y'all. Like, let's write some thank you notes. It's really, there's nothing controversial about that copy. We just wanted to make it as simple as possible. And if you aren't a company or you just really like to make greeting cards and you wanted to know what the appropriate way was to participate, again, all you have to do is write a thank you note. And if you want to post it, send it to the email addresses listed, hospital addresses listed on our site, and then tag 18 million thanks, hashtag 18 million thanks, tag 18 million thanks. We will just get the word out. Being excited about writing your thank you notes and continuing to post about, this specific 18 million thanks goal is, that's all it takes. It's really nothing.
Right.
But
and what's great, I would say what's great is when we spread the word, there are other wonderful effects, meaning we find new people who've created awesome cards specific to the campaign, which is a win for us. We find healthcare workers who say, I would love for my hospital to receive letters, and we add them to the hospital list. There are so many more ways. And just so you know, Sarah, we started this, I think, with 13 stationery companies and around 40 hospitals. I think we're up to 50 hospitals and 40 stationery companies.
Wow.
Participate.
And how long ago did you launch it?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. I know. 2 years.
Yeah, right. Honestly.
I have no sense of time anymore.
No.
So, and what is the most rewarding feedback you've gotten from some of the hospitals or, healthcare employees?
It was this so sweet and honestly unexpected. One of the hospitals actually wrote back to somebody that wrote them just to say, by the way, the letter that you sent to us, our hospital staff, was so powerful and uplifting. We needed to tell you the effects of that so that like you keep writing to hospitals, because I mean, I never in a million years thought a hospital would have time to even write back or feel compelled to write back to one of the senders. But my God, I mean, my God, it's so, I mean, and we really do, we get things for, people who talk about, their shift was horrible. They had to stay away from their young children. I mean, some of these, doctors and nurses are not able to be with their infant children, which honestly makes me want to just die hearing that. But knowing like how they are when literally people are actually dying, they are holding the hands of just how exhausted these healthcare workers are at the end of the day, whether it's administration, janitorial, medical, to actually receive in hand somebody's handwriting that says, you have done more for us, our family, this world than I could ever articulate. That actually does give energy. And that's something we keep hearing from people, from healthcare workers, is that it feels like it's boost up energy and stick to itiveness about let's keep going, even though I feel like I have absolutely nothing left to give. It allows for just a little bit more energy and some healing. I hope some healing in some capacity.
Right.
Yeah. It's really, we're starting to compile some of these testimonials through social media on Instagram. My hope is that we continue to get more, but even just hearing from people who are at home saying, oh my gosh, this is so great. I'm excited to do this with my kids. Sarah, we actually had people who have literally written a letter to every single hospital on our list.
Yeah, they took a weekend or a week and they just went through the whole list.
Oh, bless them. I mean,
and we know this because they emailed us and they're like, so you have 2 typos on 2 different hospital listings. We need you to fix that immediately.
That's awesome.
I was like, I'm obsessed with you. Thank you so much.
I'm on it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well done.
Free copy editing.
Right? Oh man, so good.
That is awesome, and it's amazing. And I know you guys know I'm good friends with an ICU, actually administrator at the Cleveland Clinic, and yes, I don't even think I've had a phone conversation with her. Her life has been so crazy, and I do know that she had to quarantine herself for a couple weeks in a hotel room, but I haven't heard the whole story. So I can just imagine like their lives are just beyond our comprehension right now. So it's just such a wonderful thing to do and a wonderful thing to bring about in the world. My hat is off to you. My figurative hat.
Well, our hats are off to the folks that are out there, the healthcare workers and folks that are really going through stuff that we can't fathom right now.
I know. It's the least we can do.
So I'd like to close by asking a little bit about your business. You guys have done so much for others. You mentioned when we started how much you were impacted when Corona first hit. So I want to know how good Juju Inc. is doing. How's your business changed? Did you guys get any funds from the CARES Act? Are you still shipping? Are you creating new merchandise? What's going on?
Oh my God. Do you have another hour?
Short answer, yes.
Okay. So I will tackle a couple, then you'll tackle a couple.
Okay, yeah. Sorry to overwhelm all those questions.
No, I'm like, are you kidding me? I could do this every day for like a billion. I love talking to you, Sarah. The problem is I love talking to you. That really is the problem. I was actually in the middle of creating a giant new desktop collection when all of this hit. And it was our best. It was a very exciting financial year for us. To start the year. It was a real punch to the soul. Whatever. Not to sound, but woe is me. I know this is like in the scheme of things, nothing to cry over,
sure,
but
no.
it was
it's hard.
It was really hard.
Doesn't make it any less harder. I saw you guys at NSS. You guys were gangbusters. Your booth was mobbed. You had a ton of great new product. Your booth was mobbed. Everything was going very nicely. So
Thank you.
I mean, I'm sure this took the wind out of your sails in a huge way.
Oh man, just woo.
I say, it is nice knowing that everyone's
yes,
like everyone's in this.
Everyone's Ryan's exactly right. It's the only softening of all of this was knowing that it's not like all of a sudden we just stunk it all up ourselves. Suddenly we were terrible. So that was we kind of had to, and again, Ryan was really passionate about aggregating information for all small businesses like ASAP. So we really shifted towards clarifying as much communication as possible that could help kind of the greater business community. That was first. Mm-hmm. I feel like for a month we were not shipping, but then Ryan and I just go into our warehouse unit just by ourselves, and we'll do once a week shippings from there. And awesome. Which is
all of our employees, we're still paying them, but they're working from home.
By working from home, they are packaging cards that we sort of like gather things that need to be packaged ourselves. Wait a day. They come when we're not there, pick up those boxes, clean them. We've done a full process about how to help, how to basically stay doing kind of what they're fulfilling or packaging distance. But yeah, all the fulfillment is on us. Ryan and I have just been, it's been a lot just to sort of keep things organized and fulfill orders and create. For the 18 million thanks, we had a wonderful, actually a very good family friend of ours who does a tremendous amount of marketing professionally. She said, Juliana, I have so many friends who their kids are home and coloring is such a great activity. Can you please make for your 18 million thanks the color it in postcards? And that was such a good idea. So I have to tell you, creating the illustrations for the 18 million thanks website, for the social, for the branding, and then also creating some new products, postcard products for healthcare workers. I don't think I have slept this entire. I did sleep in on Mother's Day. That was phenomenal. Oh. But Ryan, I don't even. I
think there are a few more.
There are a few more.
We did get a little bit of government funding, a small amount. It took longer than we had hoped, but we did get something.
Oh yeah, it was, months, right? And they don't have any communication with you. You apply, they don't reply at all. And then you get a fraction of what they promise you with like no explanation. So it's not like it was super helpful, but it's something.
It helps pay rent. It helps pay our employees to go forward.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's shifted because for, let's see, what are we at? May 11th. Wholesale, we've started to get a few orders trickling in.
That's awesome.
It's still very slow, but it's something. It's the last, I'd say 5 business days have been something. So that's hopeful. Obviously we hope that folks reopen safely.
It's kind of like, are we? Yeah, I'm kind of like, oh God, I hope.
All right, so I'm really curious. What states are your wholesale orders showing up from? Are they all over the place?
Southern red states. Yeah.
Let's hear a red state song. Okay.
Yeah. Although maybe there's one in Orange County, and I think they have an online store.
Yeah, we'll say it's hard to understand because I think some of these might be
online
retailers that have transitioned to online. So that's also something that may be happening as well.
Yes.
And for what it's worth, I will say go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm just going to say, look, it's great news. Look, it's great news to get a wholesale order, no matter how it's being sold, because, that says someone's stock's getting diminished and they need to reorder more. So, it's a good sign. Regardless.
Yeah, exactly. So. And to answer your other question, sir, we have tried to do a decent amount of investment into our direct-to-consumer business.
Yeah, we switched. We were obviously all wholesale, and then we're like, okay, you know what, maybe this is a great kick in the butt to really think about who we are as a direct-to-consumer company. What is our branding? What is our message in that regard?
We had talked about wanting to do some refresh in early 2021. This is prior to coronavirus.
Sure.
And it's like, well, let's revisit that because we do have a lot that we want to do, and now now might be the time to do that.
Right,
So we're thinking much more branding in a direct-to-consumer fashion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, why not? So that's awesome. I'm so glad you guys are coming through this.
Thank you.
It's very inspiring to hear about all the good work you're doing, and running a young family too is the hardest work of all, I think.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Our daughter is probably about 2 days from actually walking without assistance.
Yeah, she's so on the cusp, man. She is on the cusp of walking. We are just every day. Although I'm not like super pushing for it. I
was going to say, if anyone has recommendations
on how to
slow her down,
people get little tiny humans crawling. Great. No.
Someone's got to invent like Velcro baby shoes to kind of make it hard for them to pick up.
Yes. Honestly.
It's a lot. I mean, it's a lot, and I just remember those years as so draining.
But again, I'll go back to, it's been nice to talk to other folks. This is where Juju definitely helps push me, because I think my instinct is to go internal and just try and do as much as we can in our bubble. But it's nice to talk to other folks and realize that everyone is exhausted right now. Everyone is tired. Everyone is trying their best. It's not pretty, but we're getting through it. And I think that's especially the case now, where we're trying to run our business and have a 1-year-old not trample over us. And
she's the best.
But she is really
she's so delicious. Her cheeks are so delicious.
Oh, she's so cute. I know. No, look, I agree. I mean, I think if there is a silver lining, it is that, some of we're reevaluating things. Some of the relationships maybe are a little closer. Like, you guys know I have a 13-year-old, and I think our relationship has had an interesting evolution through this, and it's for the better. So
amazing. Oh, that is so awesome.
So yeah, I think, it's like we're finding new ways to support each other in that, just go beyond typical, like, mother teenager or parent teenager parent sort of interactions. So
yeah.
So it's been very rewarding, but I will be glad when we get on the other side of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I just have to say, like, Ryan actually says this a lot, and I'm so glad he vocalizes this, because I feel it a lot, and maybe I don't vocalize it as much as I should. But being able to work with primarily female-owned businesses, and honestly, female-owned businesses who are just coincidentally also mothers, that is a dope ass community. Like, also the fact that our industry feels primarily run by that exact demographic. Yeah. I mean, it's talk about, people who are not, it's not from this lens of like, well, I need to get mine because there's not enough for everybody to go around, and therefore I'm not going to share information, or not going to, whatever it is, it just feels, loving, and it feels human. Our wonderful web developers, the Wonder Dogs, are, female. I said they're female, immigrant, and one of their founders is also a mom, and it just feels human. And they talk about that a lot. Like, they like to work with companies that put the human back into whatever their company is trying to do. So that has been a real saving grace through all this, that we just love this industry so much, and we're going to figure out how to make it work.
Get through it. Okay. Well, guys, I cannot thank you enough for being here today and being my very first Paperfold guest. So thank you guys so much.
Oh my gosh. Thank you,
Sarah. It's been a pleasure, Sarah.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Thank you, guys. We will see you on the other side of this.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Hey, Paper Peeps. So Kitty Meow Boutique has been a fabulous client of mine for a while now. So hopefully many of my listeners are familiar with not just the dazzling wares from this Chicagoland house of paper, but also its amazing founder, a force of nature better known as Catherine Hildner. This mom of two, with another scheduled to arrive soon, has created a most intoxicating stationery range. I define the Kitty Meow aesthetic as polished and very smart. Think of the sharpest outfit you own that you feel like $1,000,000 in, but in stationery form. Everything from typography to envelope choice comes together to pack a most enticing punch. But this range is not just about the surface. It's about honoring those connections with those we care about most. And you'll see once you visit kittymeowboutique.com that the wares are divided into witty and sweet because, as Catherine puts it, sometimes you feel a little saucy and sometimes you don't. But Kitty Meow Boutique is so much more than just another pretty face in the marketplace. The empowering messaging found on her cards, invitations, journals, coasters, art prints, and enamel pins elevates the range into something that makes you feel not just seen, but good about yourself too. Everything is essentially a little lift, visually and emotionally, for not just those you love, but you as well. Not only is Kitty Meow available for your personal shopping needs, it's also available wholesale to all those shops looking for something new with which to excite their customers. She's on Fair. Visit kittymeowboutique.fair.com and get your shop started. Finally, I think what I love about Catherine most is that she is really all about living your best life, as you'll see for yourself beneath the education tab on her site. She offers KMB Signature Collective, a mastermind for women in the product-based business world who have a love for paper and giftable items, who have an idea and a plan, but need guidance and support to be successful in their efforts. I so agree with Catherine. It's so important to be surrounded by like-minded women and leaders who are willing to put in the work to lift each other up. For that reason, it's not a course. It's a friggin' transformation, people. And Catherine has also started my second favorite podcast, Dreams to Plans, with another brilliant force of nature, my girlfriend Renee, to elevate your daydreams to actual, tangible plans. Oh, and if you're on Clubhouse, follow Kitty Meow so you can tune in to her weekly room Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's called Small Business Savvy, Insider Secrets You Need to Know. I checked it out for myself last week, and it was just the dose of inspiration and confidence my day needed. So get those good vibes going at kittymeowboutique.com and tell them Sarah sent you.
Okay, how adorable are they? Thank you so much, Ryan and Juju, for being my very first guests in the Paperfold. Please go check out the document, check out 18 Million Thanks, check out Get Juju Inc., and get involved however you can. It may sound a little trite, but to me, Ryan and Juju bring to mind that famous Mr. Rogers quote, "When the sky is falling in, look to the helpers." Thank you so much, Ryan and Juju, for being our helpers. And if you like what you hear, please subscribe to stay in the loop here. I started making a list of people who I wanted to interview, and it got really long, really fast. So the plan is to keep posting episodes every week or so. Finally, if you want to leave me a voice message, info on how to do that should be in the liner notes. So please look for them there. I would love to hear from you, whether it's comments on this episode or you telling me why you should be the next guest here in the Paperfold. Thank you so much for listening, everyone, and please stay well.